They say isolation can drive a man mad. But what happens when the place itself is already insane? My name is George, and this is the story of The Shining, a haunting tale of family, madness, and something evil hiding in the halls of a hotel lost in the snow. Jack Torrance was a man searching for redemption, a former teacher, a failed writer, and a recovering alcoholic. His temper had already cost him a job, nearly cost him his family. But when he got the job as winter caretaker of the Overlook Hotel, it felt like fate had handed him one last chance. The hotel was enormous, remote, beautiful, and terrifying in its isolation. Perched high in the Colorado Rockies, cut off from the world during the snowy months. Perfect for writing, Jack thought. Perfect for a fresh start. He brought his wife Wendy and their 5-year-old son, Danny. They arrived just before the season closed in. As the last guests left and the staff packed up, the hotel seemed to sigh, like it was waiting for something. Danny was special, quiet, sensitive, and gifted. He had what Dick Halloran, the hotel's cook, called the shining, a kind of telepathy, a way of seeing things that weren't there, or things that hadn't happened yet, or things that never left. When Danny first walked the halls of the Overlook, he felt it, heard it. Whispers, shadows that moved when they shouldn't, visions of things he didn't understand. Halloran warned him, "Stay out of room 237. He didn't explain why, just that there were places in the hotel that had bad memories, places that remembered pain. The Overlook wasn't just a hotel, it was a sponge for suffering, built on stolen land, a place where powerful men came to hide their sins, murders, affairs, deals made in blood and silence. Years ago, a man named Delbert Grady, a caretaker just like Jack, had gone mad during the winter. He murdered his wife and twin daughters with an axe before blowing his own head off with a shotgun. The hotel remembered that. And when Danny wandered its halls, the past reached out to him. Jack tried to work, tried to write, but the hotel had other plans. He found an old scrapbook in the basement, full of scandals, suicides, secrets. The more he read, the more obsessed he became. Then the bar came to life. Jack, who hadn't had a drink in months, suddenly found a glass poured by a ghostly bartender named Lloyd. One drink. That's all it took. The Overlook began to own him. He started talking to people who weren't there, saw parties in empty rooms, and worst of all, he started hearing a voice, a mission. Danny must be corrected. Danny couldn't stay away. One day he opened the door to room 237. What he saw had shattered his mind. A dead woman, molded, rotting, laughing. She rose from the bathtub and reached for him. Danny ran, but he didn't tell anyone, not until it was too late. When Wendy found the bruises on Danny's neck, she thought Jack had done it. That the stress, the isolation, the hotel had finally broken him. Jack denied it, but in his eyes, something was changing. He wasn't the same man anymore. Danny began writing strange things on the walls, backwards, REDRUM, over and over. It wasn't until Wendy saw it reflected in a mirror that she understood. It spelled murder. Jack was unraveling, talking to people no one else could see, hearing instructions, and then one night the power went out. The phones died. The radio stopped working. They were completely alone. Jack entered the ballroom. Empty. But then, music, laughter, a party from decades ago in full swing. A man named Grady approached him, told him he had always been the caretaker, told him his son had to be punished, his wife dealt with. Jack took the axe. Wendy barricaded herself and Danny in their room. But Jack came, swinging, smiling, and then came the line burned into horror history. "Here's Johnny!" Wendy slashed his hand with a knife and ran. Danny ran into the snow-covered hedge maze. Jack followed, limping, crazed, muttering to himself. But Danny was smart. He walked backwards in his footprints, hid behind corners, until Jack was lost in the blizzard. Frozen. Wendy and Danny escaped in Halloran's snowcat. The sun was rising. The nightmare was over. Some say the Overlook burned down later. Others say it still stands. Silent. Waiting. Stephen King's The Shining isn't just a ghost story. It's a story about addiction, violence, the darkness we all carry, and what happens when a place brings it out of you. Jack Torrance didn't just go mad. He was consumed. And his son, Danny, he survived. But The Shining never left him. Not really. Evil doesn't always wear a monster's face. Sometimes it looks like a father, a home, a second chance. Sometimes evil is a place, and when it shines, you better pray you're not inside.